Yeah, that's basically the definition of good debt, right? Is that you get, and it's paying you an income or increasing your wealth. Bad debt is taking money out of your pocket, like a car or something like that. So
yeah, the financial sophistication of most people is, when it comes to debt, is, well, I have my house value's gone up, and I have a little bit of equity in my home, which means that they haven't paid off their house. They still owe on their house, but they can go and get another loan, and then they're going to take that loan, and then they're going to go buy a freaking pool with it, or a vacation with it. Yeah. Something that does not add any value. I mean, it adds value in the fact that they use it, but it doesn't add to their balance sheet or their net worth. And so that's really the sophistication of it, is that they use debt to get stuff, or debt to get a car, and that really is the opposite direction. You're going in the wrong direction when you're getting debt to get stuff. Debt should be a tool to use to buy assets that go up in value.
Welcome back to How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate, and today is an exciting episode because it's kind of contrary to what a lot of people think, and it's all about why we love debt. Debt is a powerful tool in investing in commercial real estate and a lot of things, but specifically getting debt when investing in commercial real estate is rather easier than some of the other traditional investment classes. So Joel, how do we use debt? Why do we love it so much?
I think it's important to think about what we were all taught about debt as kids. And for most of our lives, we're all saddled with this idea that debt is bad. Mm-hmm. And that if you get into debt, or if you have debt, you're a loser, you can't manage money well. And so there's several paradigm shifts that you need to make when you're getting into commercial real estate. And one of them is you have to get comfortable with debt, and you have to see debt, as you said so eloquently, as a tool to help you make more money. And so that's why we're going to be talking about today, because we want to change your thinking. If you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, I want to get out of debt. I want to pay off my credit cards. I want to pay off my house. I want to pay off my car. That actually is a good thing. But when it comes to business, you need to learn how to use debt in order to grow your business and make a bunch more money. And commercial real estate is an easy way to do that.
Yeah, well, frankly, we couldn't afford it, right? You can't go buy a $10 million or a $15 million asset unless you have $10 or $15 million. So you have to use debt.
Yeah.
But there's really no choice. So like Joel says, you got to get comfortable with it.
Yeah, and the traditional Dave Ramseys of the world have just constantly taught us, like Joel said, is don't get into debt because it's going and buying a car or a house or typically there's something that's not appreciating very well, and it's definitely not paying you anything to service those debts. It's just it's a debt service payment that you've got to deal with every month, and they advise against that. But when you're using debt in commercial real estate, the property you're buying is covering the debt service, and it still has excess cash flow. So you're able to not only service your debts, but pay a return on the money you did invest in commercial real estate. So it's just a completely different way of looking at it. But you've got to get comfortable with getting into debt, and you've got to understand why. And the biggest reason is it's cheap. It's insanely cheap putting debt on commercial real estate, right?
So the interest rate you pay is going to be lower than the money that percentage return that property makes you.
Yeah, which to put it super simply, it's like saying, "Hey, can I borrow 3% so I can go make 20?" And the bank's like, "Yeah, let's do it." They're excited that you're making that much money because that's a safer loan in their eyes. They're literally taking everyone else's money, that's just in the savings account, right? And they're loaning it out to us, so we can place it in commercial real estate.
Yeah, that's basically the definition of good debt, right? Is that you get, and it's paying you an income or increasing your wealth. Bad debt is taking money out of your pocket, like a car or something like that. So
yeah, the financial sophistication of most people is, when it comes to debt, is, well, I have my house value's gone up, and I have a little bit of equity in my home, which means that they haven't paid off their house. They still owe on their house, but they can go and get another loan, and then they're going to take that loan, and then they're going to go buy a freaking pool with it, or a vacation with it. Yeah. Something that does not add any value. I mean, it adds value in the fact that they use it, but it doesn't add to their balance sheet or their net worth. And so that's really the sophistication of it, is that they use debt to get stuff, or debt to get a car, and that really is the opposite direction. You're going in the wrong direction when you're getting debt to get stuff. Debt should be a tool to use to buy assets that go up in value. And when you do that, and just think like you were saying, Braden, they'll loan you on real estate. They'll loan you 80% of the value, 90% of the value. So that means you're putting in, let's just take a 90% example, which is a little bit rare. But let's say you put 10% down. Now that appreciating asset only needs to go up 5%, and you've made a 50% return on your money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other avenue that can do that. Maybe crypto.
Yeah.
But crypto's not that safe. No one's going to loan you 90% on crypto. They may loan you 50% maximum. And when crypto dives 50%, they're going to call that note due and all your value is going to be gone. And so that's why the debt is powerful, is that you can lever up and it's safe enough. You can equate it to this. If the more someone's willing to loan on it, the safer the asset class is.
Right.
Okay. So, businesses are safe, but sometimes you can't even get 80, 90% on a business. But real estate, consistently 80%, you can get loaned. And that's because it is safe and they do tend to go up in value.
Yeah. And I get a lot of people that ask about signing like who's guaranteeing these mortgages? Oh, that's a scary one. It's like, do you think I would come to you and ask for your hard-earned money as an investment if I was scared about defaulting on the loan? I mean, the loan, like you said, is maybe only 90% of the value, so it would have to take a jump. But in reality, sometimes that's 80%, 75% is the loan. So you've got a lot of wiggle room there before you're defaulting on a loan. That and the property's kicking out cash flow. So, I mean, cash flow is another amazing reason to get into debt.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Joel, because how can you get comfortable with all the personal guarantees that you have, right? So if you go out and you get debt for a business and something happens to the business, well, you can just have the business declare bankruptcy and everything's great, right? That was good debt. You tried to build a business by going into debt, but then the business can just declare bankruptcy. But on real estate, don't you have to do a personal guarantee such that if something goes wrong, that your funds are at risk, right? Not the company's funds, or not the LLC that you set up for that property, but your personal funds are at risk. Is that right?
Yes, but it could also be that way with a business. Depending on the business, you could have a personal guarantee on the assets of the business or something, and so you would be personally liable. Real estate, though, it just depends. If you are going to sign your name, you better know what you're doing, because in the event that property, for some reason, you can't get tenants, now the cash flow drops, you can't make that mortgage payment, the bank will come and take that.
For sure.
And then if you're personally liable, what will happen is the bank will then sell that property at a loss, and whatever the difference is between what they sell it for and what you owed them, they're going to come after you for that difference.
Okay. So people that are listening, what happens if they say, well, how am I going to get debt because I don't have, when they come to me for a personal guarantee, I don't have that much assets or
That's
net
a great
worth.
question.
So can these people get the debt? Or do they need to find someone who can partner with them that does have some net worth that they can sign a personal guarantee? Or how's somebody going to do that?
I would say it this way. If you have an amazing deal and you're having a problem getting the debt on it, bring it to me. If it's a good enough deal, I'll get the debt for you. And you should take that scenario and apply it to everything, right? Because if the deal is good enough, you're going to raise the money from your investors. You're going to be able to get the debt. If the deal sucks, you're probably not going to get the debt. You're probably not going to get the partners.
If it's a good deal, is the bank going to give you the money even if without personal guarantees?
Definitely
sometimes
not.
they do.
Definitely
but
not. You need to find a partner for your first one. Okay. They want to see a track record of getting a loan, completing a loan, satisfying a loan, paying the interest, paying the money back. Because those are 5-7 year terms. So you've got to have a track record. So going to a partner and saying, hey, I've got this amazing deal. The bank isn't necessarily completely comfortable with me yet, but maybe, given your track record, if I give you a piece of this deal, could you help me get this loan? And then it's kind of a win-win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that in general. There will be instances where, depending on the size of the deal, the person may be able to get the debt. Mm-hmm. What the bank's going to look at, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at your income from your day job. If you didn't have let's say you're going to buy a $3 million apartment building, and the bank really likes it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, if you don't have the benchmark is if you have a $3 million net worth, then they're going to loan you the $3 million on your signature. But let's say you don't have a $3 million net worth. They may still get comfortable if your net worth is $500,000, but you are an attorney and you make $400,000 a year, and that they'll kind of take that into consideration with the cash flow of the property. You might find a bank that'll loan you that money.
Okay. What if you want to do another $3 million deal?
Interestingly enough, is that they'll look at each one individually. So you're actually better off on the next one that you have the apartment complex and you have your job. Now you've got two sources of income, and so that'll be better.
Right.
Each deal you do, like with us, we've got 70, 80, $90 million worth of loans, and they love it. They don't look at us and say, well, he's already got 19 projects, and so he's riskier on the next one. No, they think the opposite. They think, well, he's got 20 projects cash flowing. He's less of a risk. Let's just keep giving him the money.
Okay, but will the same bank do that, or do banks reach a limit with you as well?
Yeah, good question. They
These
do.
are great, Brian.
Brian, bring the questions. So these local banks will have limits. If it's a smaller local bank, they may have a $10 million lending limit per person.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll have a $20 million lending limit per person. But if you're going to do like a non-recourse, we've talked about it, Fannie Freddie loans, government-backed loans, through the agencies. Well, then it's unlimited.
And those are mainly restricted to apartments.
Those are mainly restricted to apartments, but there's also for retail. There's life company loans and CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed security loans, and those are once again unlimited. They're really only underwriting the real estate. Now so you may not even have a signature on that, and you're not going to be liable for that debt.
So let me ask a crazy question. How do banks make money? I mean, making these loans. How do they do that? How do they make money?
Well, we should have a banker answer that, but how I think it happens is that they borrow from the Federal Reserve at a lower rate and loan at a higher rate, and they use their deposits where they're giving virtually no savings return, and then they're lending that money out at a higher rate. So it's just borrowing at a low rate and lending at a high rate.
So if a bank has $10 million of our cash in deposits, they can lend $10 million. I mean, that's not that much.
I think they can lend. No, I think they can lend a multiple over the deposits.
I mean, two times maybe.
I think
double.
I think it's more. I don't know. That is. We need a banker. I don't know.
I've heard 10.
I've heard a lot more. A lot more.
Yeah.
So it's the best kind of marketing scheme in existence because we were all taught to do what with our money?
To save it.
Put it in the bank.
Put it in the bank.
The safest place you could possibly put your money is in the bank.
And they're lending it out.
And they're lending not only your money out, but potentially 10 times the amount of money you give them to make more money. That's insane.
And we're basically doing the same thing in commercial real estate. They're borrowing the money cheap, and they're getting lending it out at a higher return. We're borrowing money cheap. We're using it to buy property that pays us 2, 3, 4 times the return. That's all it is. It's a leverage game. And so you've got to get that in your mind that debt is the tool to leverage your money to make, and the bank's money to make big time returns. You get all there. You say, well, you got to have your money work for you. Yes. But you got to have what if I could say, you can get 8 times your money working for you? It's get the bank's money working for you.
Yeah.
And so then not only am I making money on my money, I'm making money on the bank's money because I'm paying 4% and I'm making, 8% on that money.
To that point, Brian said in the beginning, we're not buying these properties in cash because you can't afford it. And you could if you wanted to. I mean, there's people out there that have $10 million in cash and they could go buy something in all cash. And if you were buying it on a cap rate, cap rate is kind of your multiple of value of the profitability of that company. So if you were buying it on an 8 cap and you bought it in all cash, you're going to make 8% that first year, right? But if I thought that, it's safe, I know it's going to do the 8%. If I really believed in the deal, I would go get a loan from a bank, at like 4%. Let's be modest, 4%. You can get that right now. Then I could make, instead of 8, I could make 24 or 25% on the same deal. Not the same amount of money. Yeah, I'm putting in, 20% of the money instead of 100%. So even though you may make more money buying it in cash, the percentage on the return would triple by getting a loan.
Well, and then the other, you say you only invested 20%, but the other 80%, you can go buy another 4 deals with that. Yeah, right. So in essence, that's how you make 20% on your money is leverage through debt. So if you want to make 8%, great. But we did a whole podcast on how important the rate of return is over time.
Right.
So 8%, yeah, you'll get rich eventually making 8%, but you'll get really freaking rich if you can make 20% a year compounding. Yeah. And real estate gives you the opportunity to do that.
That's doubling your money, what, every 5 years? Every 4 years? 25%? 4 or 5 years? That's
if it's compounding, it's less.
Yeah, because it's compounding.
That's dumb. So you could take the exact same investment that's making you 8% and you're that's a lot. That's a lot, man.
Well, and another point I want to make about debt is always be willing to trade today's cash flow for debt that you can go and use to grow your business. And what I mean by that is, like we were talking about when we refinance a property. For me, cash flow is king and cash flow is great. But if it's a property's cash flowing, well, then I can go refinance that. It may cost me some cash flow, but I'm gonna get a maybe an extra $1 million in that refi, and I can go multiply that money. So I'm always willing to trade today's cash flow for really good debt to go invest in more property.
And now you're really compounding then.
So lessons to learn: stop putting your money in the bank. Cash is trash, as a lot of people say. You can't just hoard it. You can't
cash is king.
Cash is king. Cash is trash. I mean, if you've got $1 million sitting in your bank account just doing nothing, it's not even in the market, earning 7-8%. You've got to do it because they're making money on your money. So you might as well take the power back and invest your money with some debt and make some more money.
Yeah, debt is good if it's used to buy assets.
Yeah.
Okay. Not liabilities, not cars, not trips,
not credit cards, that don't get paid.
So debt is good for you if you are buying assets.
Simply stated. Well, Make sure to like and subscribe, share it with a buddy. And if you've got a question, feel free to comment down below. We will catch you next time on how to invest in commercial real estate.
Thanks.